G'day hobby friends, today I've got a beginner friendly technique that'll have you making awesome muddy field bases with minimal effort. They're perfect for the Lord of the Rings, Warhammer, the Old World, Baron's War, Oathmark, or just about any tabletop game that needs a realistic countryside look. Let's jump straight into it. First up, grab your bases and then add a few random splodges of superglue. Then drop on a handful of small rocks to each base. Try not to overdo it, less is definitely more here. Keeping them lying nice and flat, just as they'd sit nice and flat naturally in a muddy field, not upright as it were. Then set off the superglue with a bit of bicarb. Next I give everything a coat of Citadel Zandri dust. Once that's dry, I heavily dry brush the rocks with Pro Acryl's bold titanium white or whatever white you have to hand. This simple step gives us plenty of contrast and sets up the next stage beautifully. Now it's time for the mud. Using my trusty Tamiya flat brush, I apply one nice thick coat of Citadel's Rhinox hide. Rather than brushing it smooth, I sort of paddle the paint on. That leaves a slightly uneven organic finish that really sells the look of wet clay. Rhinox hide is just a fantastic colour for this sort of muddy field, and personally it's got to be one of the best paints Citadel puts out there, I think. To finish up the rocks, I give them a generous coat of Drakenhof Nightshade from Citadel. This is one of my favourite little shortcuts. Over the Zandri dust and a white dry brush, it creates this convincing stone or uneven concrete look to it without having to build up 4 or 5 different dry brush layers to get that nice even coat. Fast, easy, and I think it looks great. Don't forget, just wait till it dries, because when you first put it on, it's going to look pretty blue. But trust me, at the end, it's going to look cracker. Now for the fun part, I apply a heavy coat of Citadel's Ardcoat gloss varnish. Any gloss varnish will do, but using the same paddling motion as before. Once it's down, and before it has a chance to dry, I start pressing in a selection of Gamer's Grass tufts. Different kinds of colours, some a bit taller, some a bit browner, some a bit greener, but trying to get a motley effect as it were. I also make sure there are little gaps between each grass tuft so you can still see the muddy clay below. The Ardcoat works as both a fantastic glue and finish. It leaves the shiny slick surface of the wet mud between the tufts, just like freshly churned clay. If you're having analysis paralysis, as it were, to what kinds of grass tufts to use, a little trick I like to think of is every time I go to my hobby store, I just grab some random tufts. And then when I'm putting it down, I mix it up. You gotta think, you look in a random unmowed field from, a fantasy world as it were, you're gonna have groups and tussocks of dead grass, some new grass coming through, different plant species all competing. Just make sure there's a little bit of separation and a little bit of varied height, and you'll be right. Lastly, I paint the rims using my trusty Sharpie acrylic earth tone pens. They are fantastic, cheap, and great for this kind of job. In black, of course, unlike some heathens out there that'll paint their rims all kind of colours. This is a simple, quick, and effective scheme, and en masse looks fantastic on the tabletop. So, hobby friends, I hope you found this little tutorial useful. If you'd like to support the channel, I've recently launched the channel membership, so you can click on down below. Otherwise, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And ring the bell so you don't miss out on my future hobby content. But most importantly, hobby friends, keep crafting.